What up, guys? The Bench Buddies are back with my college basketball Week 9 top 25. But before we get into it, hit that subscribe button down below to be entered into our giveaway. Dropping from the rankings, Creighton and Miami. Miami with the loss last week. Creighton starting to tumble, and it's kind of concerning now that Creighton was a top 10 team and they're starting to fall back, especially with Big East play coming up. Others receiving votes, you have Colorado, Auburn, Wisconsin, Miami staying there, and Utah. All these teams are on the verge to get into the top 25 and get back into the top 25. Wisconsin is a team ranked in the AP poll, but I just don't see it right now with those 3 losses. And they're right there, though. They could get a big win this week or next week and jump right into those rankings. 25 through 21, this is where you see some new teams joining. Gonzaga falling, Ole Miss moving up, same with Providence. I have Nevada in here, 13-1, a good start to the season, and I don't think anyone saw that coming, as in recent years they have been pretty good, and we get to see them now flourish going into Mountain West play. Gonzaga losing to San Diego State, and that's why San Diego State joins here at 23. And they've been pretty good too at 11-2, but a team that's not getting talked about enough is Providence. Last week didn't play, but they have 2 games this week in Seton Hall and Creighton. And if they can go on the road and beat Creighton, they'll probably be jumping up even more. And Creighton's right there as well, just to get into those rankings. And then Ole Miss, 13-0. And what do they get this week? Tennessee on the road. If they can go into Tennessee, be the top 5 team, this Ole Miss team for sure will be a top 10 team next week. 20 through 16. And a lot of these teams are kind of staying where we thought they would be, except FAU. FAU takes a big fallback after losing to FGCU on the road, but I expect them to start picking up some more wins as they get into conference play. Baylor, same for them. I expect them to win against Cornell, and then Oklahoma State get to 13-2. But Clemson, they have 2 tough games this week. Miami on the road, who just fell out of our rankings, and they're right there knocking on the door. Then UNC at home. Welcome to the ACC play. 2 of the toughest games you can have in ACC play this year, Clemson gets. And then you have Memphis, I think one of the American favorites to win it right now. And if they can go on the road, beat Tulsa, and beat SMU at home, a good 2-0 start to conference play would be great. 15 through 11, Duke, they just go up, and then have a 1 bad loss and fall all the way back down. But that's not the case last week after they destroyed Queens. Then you have BYU, Colorado State, and James Madison, teams that we didn't think that would be ranked this high this early in the season. Especially James Madison, obviously, being undefeated, 13-0. That win at Michigan State is still a great win, and they keep finding ways to win games. Now, they have 2 tough road games this week, and if they can go get those 2 road wins, more than likely, this team might be a top 10 team when it's all said and done, because half of their season is going to be over at this point, being at 15-0. And then Colorado State, BYU. BYU starts their first year in the Big 12 with the game at home against Cincinnati. Colorado State, New Mexico, and Utah State, and the game against New Mexico is going to be one of the better ones, as both those teams are going to be Mountain West favorites for the rest of this year. And then you have Illinois, who they could be a top 5 team if they can go on the road and beat Purdue in Mackey. And Illinois has looked really good this last month. And they're a team that I think right now is a sleeper team that could win it all when we come to March. At 10, I have Oklahoma moving up from those 5. They're going into their own slide here. And they got 2 wins last week. They get Iowa State at home. They're 12-1, and their only loss is to UNC on the road. And they can, get back into conference play here, get a good win against Iowa State, who's been decently good this year, and start off conference play 1-0. At 9, I have Arizona. They suffered that tough loss to Stanford on the road. And it's kind of time for cause for concern. They're 2-3 in their last 5, and they've lost to Purdue, FAU, and Stanford. But on the flip side, the Pac-12 isn't as strong as the football conference has been this year. So Arizona could pick up some easy wins down the stretch. 8, I have Marquette. Big win over Creighton last week at home. They go on the road to face Seton Hall this week, and I think they'll take care of business there. But they've already played 5 ranked teams, in which they are 4-1 this year. So Marquette can win against the big teams and one of the favorites to win the Big East. 7 is North Carolina. And this team, they had 2 losses to UConn and Kentucky early, but they've gotten wins against Oklahoma and Charles Southern last week. So I think right now they're in a position to run away with the ACC. I know it's early, but they're one of the favorites. And then I have Kentucky here at 6. They're moving up after their win last week. And they get Florida to start conference play on the road, which should be a tough game for them. And Kentucky can get in there, get that win. Might be a top 5 team next week. At 5, I have Tennessee. And this team, they didn't play last week, but they're moving up. And they've won 5 straight after losing 3 straight games. But Ole Miss this weekend should be a great game to watch. Make sure you tune into that one. 4, UConn stays put. Didn't play last week over the holiday break, but they get DePaul and Butler to start back into Big East play. And if they can get those 2 wins, move to 3-1 in the conference, UConn is going to be staying at 4, maybe moving up. Kansas is at 3, and they beat Wichita State pretty handily. Their only losses to Marquette in the Maui tournament, and it's pretty obvious that them and Houston are the Big 12 favorites to start the year. But Kansas, as long as McCullough and Dickinson are healthy and both of those guys can play up to their potential, it's going to be tough to stop that 1-2 punch. 2 is Purdue. They're 12-1, only lost to Northwestern still. They get Maryland on the road, home against Illinois this weekend, in what should be a great game, not for just the Big Ten, but for the country, to see where both these teams still stack up this point in the season. But Zach Edey, another candidate for Player of the Year. If he can keep putting up these numbers, it's going to be tough to not have him win the award. But Braden Smith has been a good outlet for him as well. If Braden Smith has a good game where he scores at least 15 points, there's a really good chance that Purdue is going to win. And at 1, my consensus number 1 for these last few weeks is Houston. They're 13-0. They went undefeated out of conference play, but now they're heading into Big 12 for their first year. So it could be a slippery slope for them, but I think as long as LJ Cryer has been playing the way he's going to play and Emmanuel Sharp is starting to figure it out, starting to lead the team in scoring here these last few games, Houston is going to be very tough to stop. And we know Kelvin Sampson and the Cougars love to play defense, and it's going to be tough to stop them in the Big 12, but I'm sure they're up for the challenge. But that's going to be it for my Week 9 Top 25. Make sure you guys check back next week to see where your team ranks and see who's new in the rankings. But until next time, the Bench Buddies are out.